Word had gotten around about the death march, the forced march of the American prisoners by the Japanese, which caused many to die. These were the troops the general had in mind when he returned to the Philippines.
The Bataan Death March, a name synonymous with suffering, brutality, and the indomitable spirit of those who rode it. But the story doesn't end with the march itself. The aftermath, the lingering trauma, the struggle for survival and recovery.
The enemy bombs missed very.
Carlos P. Romullo was only 42 years old when the death march had happened.
Please say to the nation that my troops and I have accomplished all that is humanly possible, and that we have upheld the best traditions of the United States.
Romullo, 1899 to 1985, signed the UN Charter on behalf of the Philippines and was President of the UN General Assembly, 1949 to 1950.
Good afternoon, sir. It's nice to find you in your channel. My name is Jamaica Combras, and I am very glad to have you on your own documentary. You're a known general, specifically in the times of the Second War, right?
Yes.
But now we want to more about your experiences and your narrative. That is from your book entitled "I Saw the Fall of the Philippines," right? But now we want to more about you exactly. What exactly or who exactly is Carlos P. Romullo?
Okay, so shall we start? Okay, so I grew up in a prosperous family in Camiling, in the island of Luzon. As far as I know, back in my days, I was 16 years old when I became a news reporter. By the time that I was 20 years old, I was already a news editor. And at the time that I was 32 years old, I became a renowned publisher in the Philippines. So before anything else, as I learned how to be a journalist back in 1921 in University of the Philippines as well as the Columbia University, earning my first MA back in that time.
Sir, you mentioned about becoming a book publisher at the age of 30, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me more about the most famous book you published?
I will never forget about the book I published, named or titled entirely as I Saw the Fall of the Philippines. It's an eyewitness account to see the fall of the Philippines as well as the battle back in that day.
Yes, sir. It was actually a popular literary work that you had there, right?
Exactly.
Where were you during the intense fight war in Bataan? Is it true that you escaped?
Dawn of April 9, 1942 arrived with a chilling silence. The air hung heavy with the weight of defeat, the stench of despair clinging to every corner of Bataan.
I remember working closely with MacArthur, dealing directly with the press and bolstering to public morale. There were times I felt a condemned prisoner in a death cell, sitting in my little room while the Japanese executioners roamed overhead.
General Edward P. King Jr., leader of our Luzon forces, had made the agonizing decision to surrender. Over 76,000 men, exhausted, hungry, and riddled with disease, fell into the hand of the Japanese.
By the time that President Roosevelt ordered General MacArthur to therefore withdraw to Australia, that's when I escaped. I was the last man of Bataan. I went back to the United States to give a series of lectures and to take care of the glories of freedom. To tell the people what was the truth on what is happening in the world.
The Death March began, a grueling journey of unimaginable suffering. Our men, forced to walk for days under the scorching sun, were subjected to brutal treatment, their bodies weakened by hunger and thirst.
The world watched in horror as the news of the Bataan surrender and the Death March spread. But even in the darkest hour, the Filipino spirit refused to be broken. The people of Bataan, despite their own hardships, risked their life to offer food and water to the prisoners. Their compassion, their courage, became a beacon of hope in the face of despair.
In the face of the difficult times, it can be really seen that the tides has turned their back against the Bataan, as well as the general at the time, Edward P. King.
General King, the Japanese have surrounded us. Our supplies are dwindling, and our men...
I know this is a difficult decision, but it is the only one that makes sense. We cannot sacrifice any more lives. We must surrender to Japanese and hope for the best. We are Filipinos, and we will never give up hope. We will survive this, and we will reborn our nation.
The American offensive against Japan, the primary object of which is the relief of the Philippines. I came through, and I shall
The
return.
Philippines while being exiled. And then, it was October 20, 1944. 2 years had passed when General MacArthur returned to my country, with me being his brigadier general. As we have arrived at Leyte, when the general looked around, he saw the hell that the Japanese had caused. The general then declared with a part in a radio broadcast to address my countrymen that it marked the beginning of the United States liberation at the beach.
This is the voice of freedom, General MacArthur speaking. People of the Philippines, I have returned. By the grace of Almighty God, our forces stand again on Philippine soil.
Well, it is the duty of the little Davids of this world to fling the pebbles of truth in the eyes of blistering Goliaths and force them to behave.